place where masters of English language practice daily. Yes, you can learn to speak English.
Albert Einstein was born in Ulm, Germany in 1879. He was a quiet child. He didn't talk much when he was young. His parents worried at first, but Albert just liked to think. He liked to watch and listen more than speak. As a child, Albert was different. While other kids played games and ran outside, Albert sat and asked questions. Why is the sky blue? How does light move? What is time? He did not always get answers, but he never stopped asking. One day, Albert's father gave him a small compass. The needle always pointed north, even when he turned it. Albert was amazed. Why does it move? What force makes it turn? He asked. That compass made Albert think more deeply about the world. It was one of his first steps toward science. In school, Albert was not the best student. Some teachers thought he was lazy because he asked too many questions. He didn't like to memorize things. He liked to understand them. He also did not follow rules well. But Albert loved math and reading. He often studied on his own. At home, Albert read books about math and science. He liked the stories of great thinkers like Newton. He wanted to know how everything worked. He often thought about light and time. Can we move as fast as light? What happens to time when we move fast? These thoughts filled his mind. Albert had one close friend, a boy named Max. They would walk and talk for hours. Max liked music, and Albert played the violin. They shared ideas. Albert often told Max about his thoughts. Max didn't always understand, but he listened. One day in class, Albert asked, "If a person rides on a beam of light, what will they see?" The class laughed. The teacher said, "That's not a useful question." But Albert kept thinking. As Albert grew older, he moved to Switzerland with his family. There, he joined a new school. This school was better. The teachers were kinder. They allowed questions. Albert felt more free. He worked hard and finished school, but he did not find a job right away. He wanted to be a teacher, but no school would hire him, so he worked at a patent office in Bern. His job was to look at new ideas from inventors. He read about machines and inventions all day. But in his free time, Albert still thought about light and time. He started to write down his ideas. He wrote many notes. He began to form a new theory. He believed time and space were connected. He believed the speed of light was the same for everyone, no matter how fast they moved. Albert worked on this theory every night. No one knew. He didn't tell many people. One summer evening, as he walked home from work, he looked at the stars. How far are they? How long does their light take to reach us? These questions stayed in his mind. He felt alone sometimes. People didn't understand his thoughts. Even Max, his old friend, said, "Albert, these ideas are too big." Albert smiled. "Maybe, but I feel like I'm getting close to something." One night, he stayed up very late. He finally finished a paper. It was about time, space, and the speed of light. He called it Special Relativity. He sent it to a science magazine. Then he waited. Back in the patent office, Albert did his job quietly. He looked at machines and ideas, but in his mind, he dreamed about the universe. Weeks passed. Then, one day, a letter came. It was from the magazine. They liked his paper. They would publish it. Albert was happy, but he did not expect much. He thought only a few people would read it. But something started to happen. A few scientists read his paper. They were amazed. One wrote, "This man is unknown, but his ideas are new and important. People began to talk about Einstein's theory. Albert didn't know yet, but this paper would change his life. At night, he still looked at the stars and asked questions. What comes next? The patent office in Bern was quiet, with rows of desks and tall shelves full of papers. Albert Einstein worked at a desk near the back. His job was to read inventions and decide if they were new or useful. It was not exciting, but Albert was thankful for the job. It paid the bills and gave him time to think. Most of the time, the inventions were simple: a better spoon, a new kind of chair. Sometimes they were strange. Albert would smile at these. He stamped papers, wrote reports, and sent them back. But when his work was done, his mind wandered. In his drawer, Albert kept a notebook. It was full of numbers, drawings, and ideas. He wrote in it every break, during lunch, and late into the night at home. His theory of time and space was growing. He began to see a picture forming in his mind, a picture of how the universe worked. People at the office didn't know. They thought he was just a quiet man with messy hair. Some called him odd, but Albert didn't mind. He liked thinking more than talking. One afternoon, Albert sat at his desk, tapping his pen. He had a new idea. What if time moved differently, for people moving at different speeds? He jotted notes quickly. He drew clocks and trains. He imagined someone on a fast train looking at a clock, and someone standing still. Would they both see the same time? He ran home that day, his coat flapping in the wind. He worked all night. His wife, Mileva, brought him tea. "Albert, please rest," she said. "Just a bit more," he replied. "I feel close." A few weeks later, Albert finished a second paper. He mailed it to another science journal. Like the first one, it was quiet. No one noticed right away. But slowly, a few scientists began to talk. They said, "This young man from the patent office is thinking differently." Then came his third paper. It was about a famous formula, E-mc2. It showed that energy and mass were two sides of the same coin. The idea was bold. Few people understood it. But those who did were amazed. Letters started to come. Scientists asked questions. Some praised him. Others doubted. But Albert kept writing. One day he got a letter from a well-known professor in Germany. The professor said, "I want to meet you. Your ideas are powerful." Albert smiled and read the letter twice. Maybe now people would listen. Back at the patent office, his boss noticed the letters. "Einstein, are you planning to leave?" he asked. "No, sir," Albert said, but in his heart he knew things were changing. That night, he looked at the stars again. "I think I found something real," he whispered. One morning, Albert walked into the office, but the others looked at him differently. One man said, "You're in the paper today. They say you're the new voice in science." Albert laughed. "I'm still the same man." But things were moving fast. More letters came. Invitations to speak. One university asked him to teach. He couldn't believe it. The boy who asked too many questions was now a teacher. Albert accepted the job. He left the patent office with a smile. Still, many people did not know his name. His ideas were growing, but fame had not come yet. One evening, he sat in his small study. The window was open, and cool air came in. His violin sat nearby. He picked it up and played a soft tune. Then he paused. What if light bends near heavy things, like stars? He wondered. He wrote the question in his notebook. It was a new path, a bigger idea. Outside, the world was quiet, but inside Albert's mind, the universe was alive with mystery. Albert's paper on special relativity started to gain attention. At first, only a few scientists understood its importance, but slowly, more began to see how big his ideas were. Some said, "This will change how we think about the universe." In 1915, Albert went further. He published a new paper on something he called general relativity. This theory said that gravity was not just a force. It was a bend in space and time caused by heavy objects, like the sun bending the space around it. People were confused. Many didn't believe it. Then came 1919. There was going to be a solar eclipse. During an eclipse, the moon blocks the sun. This was the perfect time to test Albert's idea. If he was right, the light from stars near the sun would bend as it passed by. A team of scientists went to a faraway island to watch the eclipse. They took photos of the stars. When they returned, they compared the photos to ones taken at night when the sun was not in the sky. The stars' positions had changed, just as Albert had said. The news spread fast. Einstein was right, said the newspapers. New theory proves how the universe works. Overnight, Albert became famous. People wanted to hear him speak. His photo was in newspapers around the world. He was called a genius, a thinker like no other. Albert was surprised by the attention. He said, "I only wanted to understand how things work." But the world now saw him as a hero of science. He traveled to many countries, giving talks and meeting other scientists. He still loved to think, to play his violin, and to ask big questions. And as he looked up at the stars, he knew there was still more to discover. Albert Einstein became world famous overnight. People everywhere wanted to see him, hear him, and understand his ideas. But Albert remained kind and humble. He didn't care much for fame. He still wore old clothes and often forgot to brush his hair. He only cared about thinking. Even though he was now famous, Albert stayed the same. He believed in peace, in truth, and in helping others. He spoke out against war. He said, "Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding." He also believed in fairness. He stood up for people who were treated badly. When others stayed quiet, Albert spoke up. He used his fame to support justice and kindness. Albert never stopped learning. He kept asking questions about the universe. He wrote more papers. He met new scientists. He became a teacher and a guide to many young minds. He played his violin often, enjoying the soft music after long days of thinking. He smiled when children asked him questions. "Never stop being curious," he told them. Albert Einstein passed away in 1955, but his ideas still live on. His theories changed science forever, and his heart, full of kindness and courage, touched the world. Today, we remember not just his great mind, but also his great soul, Albert Einstein, a star in the sky and on earth.